On this episode, the concept of the obstacle being the way and how that can guide how we improve water-sensitive urban design. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ideanthro, and welcome back to another That's Like WSUD episode, where we explore a concept and how it relates to water-sensitive urban design. This is actually part 3 in a little mini-series, where in the first episode we looked at the concept of cognitive dissonance. In the second episode, we looked at how cultures evolve and change over time in response to the contradictions within those cultures, and how we can use that to gain some useful and interesting information about water-sensitive urban design. And today, number 3, we are looking at the concept of the obstacle is the way. Now, I first came across this concept listening to an interview with Ryan Holiday, an American author who has written a book by this title, The Obstacle is the Way. But this concept is based on a Zen parable, which comes in a couple of different forms. One of which is the obstacle is the path, and another version of this is the obstacle in the path becomes the path. But you can see the common trend here, which is to say there's an obstacle, and then you take the path towards that obstacle. So what does that really mean? Well, a couple of tangible examples of this in the real world might be to say if you need to write a report and you have a choice, and if you're like me, writing reports is actually really quite hard. I quite like being in front of the camera like this. I'm not really that comfortable, that good with writing reports. So if you're like me, writing reports is hard, and so you're faced with a choice. You can either knuckle down and go after writing that report, or you can find a way to procrastinate. And the concept of the obstacle is the way would say to you, knuckling down and writing the report is the obstacle, but it is the way to go because that is where the best results, the best stuff will come out of. Another example of this might be, say, if you're really shy in public situations. Maybe you don't like public speaking. The concept of the obstacle is the way would say, well, you have a choice. You can either get up and you can speak in public. Now, you might want to do some training and some practice before that, but you can either get up and speak in public or you can avoid it. And the concept of the obstacle is the way would say the best things will come if you face the obstacle, you face your fear of public speaking, and you go and do it. So how can we apply this to water-sensitive urban design? Well, the previous 2 episodes, in the first of those episodes, we looked at cognitive dissonance, and we learned that cognitive dissonance is the state of mind where you're holding 2 or more conflicting beliefs or ideas simultaneously in your head, and the fact that that cognitive dissonance that creates is actually painful for us because we like to think of ourselves as logical creatures, as logical beings, and that the result of cognitive dissonance is that we often start to create stories to explain this away, so we don't actually have to face up to the pain that our beliefs don't make logical sense, and we can get around them and skirt around the edge of them. And we identified a situation where that happens in the stormwater industry at the moment, or where I believe it happens in the stormwater industry. Second up, we then learned about this concept that Yuval Noah Harari introduces in the book Sapiens, which is that cultures grow and change in order to deal with the contradictions in their underlying beliefs and assumptions and value systems. So Yuval would make the argument that the underlying beliefs and underlying systems beneath cultures are all A, inherently useful, but B, inherently contradictory to each other, and that cultures will grow and expand as they seek out ways to solve those contradictions over time. And we can apply that to water-sensitive urban design if we recognise that water-sensitive urban design is continuing to grow and change over time. We can take that concept and we can go, okay, what are the parts of water-sensitive urban design that are currently contradictory? And based on dissonance theory, when things are contradictory, they're also painful for us to think about. So we can go, what are the parts of water-sensitive urban design and how it's currently applied that are painful to think about, and therefore likely contradictory, and therefore likely to be the things that cause water-sensitive urban design to change in the future? If we can identify those, maybe we can go after those to make that change happen sooner or better or differently or something positive. And so this is where the concept of the obstacle is the way comes in, because what it does is it reaffirms that that path is correct. Because this path, we've identified the things that are painful, we've identified that they are therefore the things that are contradictory and the things that we want to go after. And the obstacle of the way says, yes, you are correct. Even though you are potentially feeling pain, even though I am potentially feeling pain thinking about these things, thinking about some conflicts in the way we maintain or manage stormwater assets, we need to keep thinking about that. We need to pursue the things that are the obstacle, that are tough, because ultimately it's by getting through those and overcoming them in a meaningful way that we get to the good outcome in the end. And that's the concept of the obstacle, is the way, as I see it, applied to water sensitive urban design in this context. I'm sure you can find others. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time.